Hi everyone and welcome. Today we're diving deep into the world of Canadian work visas. Specifically, how to navigate the LMIA process in 2025. If you're dreaming of working in Canada, this is the video for you. We're breaking down everything. The steps, the requirements, the potential pitfalls, so you can confidently pursue your Canadian career goals. Let's get started. Alright, let's start with the basics. What exactly an LMIA? LMIA stands for Labor Market Impact Assessment. Before a Canadian employer can hire someone from another country, they need to prove that they couldn't find a Canadian to do the job. The employer applies for this document from the government, and if it's approved it says, "We need to bring someone in from overseas because there's no one here who can fill this position." This assessment protects the Canadian workforce while allowing for growth in key areas. Once the LMIA is approved, you, the foreign worker, can apply for a work permit. So to put it simply, employer gets LMIA, you get a work permit. Now you might be wondering, do you need an LMIA? And the answer is, it depends. Most foreign workers who are applying from outside of Canada will need an LMIA to get a work permit. But of course, there are always exceptions to the rule. One example is the International Mobility Program, or IMP. This program has special agreements with certain countries and for specific types of work. If you're eligible for the IMP, you can skip the whole LMIA process altogether. Another exception is if you're applying for an open work permit. These permits allow you to work for any employer in Canada, but they're usually only available under very specific circumstances. But for most people who are applying from overseas and don't have any special status or fall into these specific exceptions, an LMIA-based work permit is probably going to be your best bet. Okay, so you've determined that you probably need an LMIA to work in Canada. Now, the real work begins. Finding a job that will support your application. Step 1. Find a Canadian employer who is willing to hire you and go through the hassle and expense of getting an LMIA. The LMIA process takes time, sometimes months, and it costs the employer money. Look for jobs that specifically mention LMIA available, willing to sponsor, or foreign workers welcome in the job description. Don't be afraid to be upfront about needing sponsorship in your cover letter. Some great places to start your search include Job Bank Canada, Indeed.ca, and LinkedIn. When you're searching on LinkedIn, set your location to Canada to see relevant postings. Other websites worth checking out are canadajobs.com and any recruitment agencies that specialize in placing foreign workers. Once you've found some promising job postings, it's time to start applying. Make sure your resume is tailored to the Canadian format. Focus on showcasing your skills, experience, and availability in a clear and concise way. If the employer is impressed with your resume, they'll likely invite you for an interview. If you're shortlisted, your potential employer will start the LMIA application process on your behalf. Yes, you read that right. The employer does the heavy lifting here. So, the employer is on board and ready to start the LMIA process. They need to submit a detailed application to Employment and Social Development Canada, or ESDC. They need to prove that they've made every effort to find a Canadian to fill the position. This means showing that they've advertised the job widely in Canada and haven't been able to find anyone suitable. They also need to provide a ton of information about your qualifications and the job itself. And did I mention there's a fee? The employer has to pay a processing fee of 1,000 Canadian dollars for each position they're looking to fill with a foreign worker. If the ESDC reviews the application and everything checks out, they'll issue a decision letter. The best case scenario is that the LMIA is positive or neutral, which means you're good to go. The employer will then send you a copy of the approved LMIA and a formal job offer letter. Alright, you've got the job offer, the LMIA has come through, things are looking good. Now it's your turn to take action. It's time to apply for that work permit. First things first, gather your documents. You'll need your passport, of course, and it needs to be valid for the entire duration of your intended stay in Canada. You'll also need that all-important LMIA approval letter and your job offer letter from your employer. Make sure you keep those documents safe, they're like gold. Next, you'll need proof of your work experience and education. This could include things like reference letters from previous employers, diplomas, degrees, or certificates. Basically anything that shows you have the skills and experience necessary for the job. You might also need a police clearance certificate from any country where you've lived for 6 months or more in the past 5 years. This is just to show that you're a law-abiding citizen and not a security risk. Depending on the job you're applying for, you might also need to undergo a medical exam. This is to ensure you're in good health and not carrying any communicable diseases. And finally, you might be asked to show proof of funds. This is to demonstrate that you have enough money to support yourself financially while you're in Canada, and that you won't be a burden on the Canadian government. Once you've got all your documents in order, it's time to head online and create an account on the Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, or IRCC portal. This is where you'll fill out the work permit application, upload all your documents, and pay the application fees. Speaking of fees, the work permit itself will set you back about 155 Canadian dollars. After you've submitted your application, you'll likely be asked to attend a biometrics appointment. This involves going to a visa application center, or VAC, to have your fingerprints and photo taken. Now comes the hard part: waiting. Processing times for work permits can vary, but generally speaking, you can expect to wait anywhere from 2 to 4 months for a decision. You made it! You're finally in Canada! But before you can start enjoying all that this amazing country has to offer, there are a few more things you need to do. When you arrive at the airport in Canada, you'll need to show the Border Services Officer your POE letter, your passport, your LMIA, and your job offer letter. They'll review everything, and if all is in order, issue your work permit on the spot. Make sure you double-check that all the information on your work permit is correct. Once you've cleared customs, it's time to start settling into your new life in Canada. One of the first things you'll need to do is get a social insurance number, or SIN. With your SIN in hand, you can open a bank account, find a place to live, and get a Canadian phone number. One of the best things about getting a work permit through the LMIA process is that it can often lead to permanent residency in Canada. That's right, if you play your cards right, you could be on your way to becoming a Canadian citizen. After you've been working in Canada for 1 year, you might be eligible to apply for permanent residency through a few different programs, such as Express Entry, Provincial Nominee Programs, PNPs, or the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot, RNIP, if you happen to be working in a rural area. The Express Entry system is the most popular way for skilled workers to immigrate to Canada permanently. It's a points-based system that ranks candidates based on factors like their age, education, work experience, language proficiency, and adaptability. Having a valid job offer supported by an LMIA gives you extra points in the Express Entry system, which can significantly increase your chances of being selected for permanent residency. Provincial Nominee Programs, or PNPs, allow Canadian provinces and territories to nominate individuals who meet specific criteria to apply for permanent residency. Each province and territory has its own PNP streams, so it's important to do your research and see which ones you might be eligible for. So, as you can see, getting a work permit through the LMIA process can open up a world of possibilities for you in Canada. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with some important tips and warnings to help you avoid common mistakes that can derail your Canadian work visa dreams. First and foremost, be wary of scams. Unfortunately, there are people out there who prey on unsuspecting individuals who are hoping to work in Canada. Never, ever pay for a job offer. Legitimate employers will never ask you for money up front. If someone is asking you to pay for an LMIA or a job offer letter, run the other way. It's a scam. Also, be sure to do your due diligence and verify that any employer who offers you a job is legitimate and actually willing to sponsor you for a work permit. You can check if an employer is registered with the Canadian government and if they have a history of hiring foreign workers. Here are a few pro tips to boost your chances. If you're planning on working in Quebec or in a bilingual area of Canada, learning some basic French can give you a serious leg up on the competition. Canada has 2 official languages, so being bilingual is a highly sought-after skill. Another tip is to target occupations that are in high demand in Canada. These are often referred to as shortage occupations, and they tend to have faster processing times for work permits and permanent residency applications. Finally, stay up to date on the latest immigration rules and regulations. Immigration laws can change frequently, so it's crucial to stay informed so you don't miss any important deadlines or requirements. And that's it, your full guide to getting a Canada work visa through LMIA in 2025. It's a journey, I won't lie. It takes effort, research, and a bit of patience. But with the right job and the right preparation, you can absolutely make it happen. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up, share it with anyone who might find it useful, and subscribe to my channel for more immigration and career content. Got questions? Drop them in the comments below. I'm here to help. Good luck, and I hope to see you in Canada soon.